Day 7 on the banks of the Kafue River. Amazing morning waking up. We're not actually in the national park, and yet we're actually surrounded by animals. Of course we had the elephant yesterday and the hippo in the water. The hippo is still in the water, still making lots of noise. Hyena not far away, we can hear them, and the sun coming up. Idyllic setting. Today we're going to not be spending too much time in the vehicle driving. We've actually had 6 days virtually non-stop driving. So today we're going into the Kafue National Park. We'll be camping in the reserve and we'll be spending 2 nights in the reserve, and it's a slow game drive on the way in. So we're really going to take our time. It's also a great time in the morning now to clean up camp, clean camera equipment, because we don't have a rush, we don't have a mean deadline to meet. So that's what we're doing this morning. And of course, last night, see, every time I go on one of these expeditions and photograph them and make my videos, I look for great sunsets. Who wouldn't? Last night was my very first 4K sunset, and I would say one of the finest sunsets I've seen in many, many a trip. Here it is again.
We've got some time this morning to head into town for some supplies. We're also going to see if we can buy some cell phone data, as we've been unable to do so in any of the towns thus far. We have been completely out of touch. Our South African and British SIM cards did not work, and neither did our Zambian SIM card work until now. 3 days it took to register the card that we bought. We're now going to try and buy some data. Tariff plans. We have to choose a bundle, but the lady behind the counter doesn't like the camera. You know YouTube? YouTube, I'm making a video on YouTube. Yeah, see. I'm trying to explain myself. Yeah, we make a movie for our holiday. I'm not really getting through. Cheers. Oh, he seemed to help. That's really quite typical of Zambians. They're always around to help.
It's working. I just got a message.
Okay, so it looks like we have success. 7 days of trying.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Even when you're walking down these streets and these markets, even when you're not holding a camera as I am doing now, you'll be stared at, you'll be watched. It's just because it's a little unusual. They do have what you got there? African monarch butterfly. Tourists are not common. They're used to them. They do see them. But out the way, Kate. Just be careful behind you. Keep your wits about you, because it's a mad rush and everybody's crazy, and you can buy absolutely everything here, from motorbikes to bicycles to, as it turns out, airtime and data. Watch out behind you. But you've got to really, really be aware of what's going on around you, because it's hectic. Need any bras?
You mean, do I need any really hideous infections? No thanks.
No, it's not like that at all. That's the whole point of this. Actually not like that. I reckon you could get some fantastic fresh fruit, vegetables. It's just the way of shopping is a little bit chaotic. But we bought that bread we bought today.
It's good bread.
I think it's good bread. It's soft and fresh. It's fantastic. It just took a bit of finding. The whole street is a department store. You know, it's like the old traditional high street. Watch out behind you, except more dangerous.
Yeah.
Right after refreshing our supplies, we're back in the Kafue National Park. We're heading north. Now, the main road that travels through Kafue is open to all traffic. You sign in, you sign out, no problem. When you then leave the road, you're then entering the park proper and they charge you. In our case, they charged us for foreign vehicle, foreigners and camping. I imagine that the camping site is going to be fairly rudimentary. I can't imagine anything special at all. But we are in Kafue, true Kafue National Park. It'll take us 2 hours to get to the campsite. And we're doing it quite slowly, looking out for animals, lots of fresh signs of elephant and tsetse fly. So inside the car, there he is there. Okay, he'll cling to the windscreen. I just wondered, where is he? Is he in the back?
No, he's in the back.
He's in the back. Okay, the tsetses are an interesting animal. They cling to the car. They are attracted by this shade. They don't like sunlight, they like shade, so they'll often sit in a shady part of the car, under the wing mirror, under the wheel arches, and they'll actually wait until you open the window and then climb inside the car. And it is the reason why this part of Zambia, in fact, most of Zambia that we've traveled through, except for the far west, devoid of cattle, very, very little cattle, and in this area, no cattle at all. And this is why the tsetse fly give the cattle sleeping sickness, and they just you just cannot keep cattle in an area where there is tsetse fly. Kufala Campsite, Kafue National Park. It's the closest campsite north of the main road. Right, yeah, hope so.
Yeah.
Celebrating end of day 6.
Yeah. Cool.
Cheers. Sorry, no, you got that wrong. It's
Yeah.
day 7. Must be all these tsetse fly bites making you lose your ability to count or something. And the reason why I am no longer, I'm spoiled, you see, no longer prepared to just take a cool box on expedition. It has to be a good fridge. Set at -3. Ah, fantastic. I've just been bitten by a tsetse fly, first one that got me today. Got me in the palm of my hand as I was holding the beer like this. And that's very typical. They will tend to bite under the knee or under the arm. They'll go for places like shade. They don't like sunlight. They're endemic to sub-Saharan Africa and have been completely eradicated in Botswana. You might find a few pockets right up in the north of Botswana. Likewise, Zimbabwe. They've all gone. Maybe a few pockets in the northern part of Zimbabwe. Zambia, they're here. But they shouldn't be feared. They shouldn't be something that you should worry about. Oh dear, I'm going to get bitten by these things and they're going to be a menace and I'm going to get sick. That's not the case. Rarely does a bite, very rarely, does a bite actually affect a human. If it does, it's completely curable. And they're not that bad, that often, in that many places. So it's not as if it's unlikely that your trip is going to be ruined, or even a campsite is going to be ruined because of an overwhelming number of tsetse flies. Generally close to water, there are fewer of them than out in the plains where it's hotter and drier. And when you stop your vehicle, if you stop it in the sunshine, bright sunshine, you will get far fewer tsetse flies around the vehicle than you will if you stop it and open the doors in shade. In very bad areas, if you stop it in shade, you'll actually get lots of them coming straight into the car. Carry some insecticide, do a quick spray inside the car and wait 2 minutes and they'll be gone. They're very susceptible to poison. Poison takes them out extremely quickly. So do that and you'll eradicate them completely from your vehicle. I can't help compare the Botswana parks with the Zambia parks and what they give you, because they're both very expensive, high tariff just to camp. And generally speaking, in Botswana you get an enclosure to swing a shower and an enclosure, sometimes long drop toilet, sometimes a proper plumbed long drop toilet. But here, and this is not the first time we've experienced it in Zambia, just more. Now, firstly we arrived and we were greeted. And we were greeted by a chap that immediately built us a fire, brought us firewood. And the ablutions are rudimentary, but the interesting thing is that I have hot water and a proper shower all laid on. So the value is much better in terms of the camping facilities. In terms of animals and game, my impression, and this is just an impression, is that it is perhaps more critical in the Zambian parks as to what time of year you visit, because I don't think we're here at the best time of year. The bush around us here is very dead, it's wintry, it hasn't got its new spring leaves yet, and it's a bit sparse. It's not particularly attractive in this part of the reserve. We've seen very few animals today, and I'm not actually particularly hopeful of animals walking through the camp tonight. But in terms of a setting, the rapids, the Kufala Rapids are over there, we'll have a look at them just now. I'm very, very impressed. Particularly impressed with the service and friendliness of the Zambian authorities and the Zambian parks people. Really impressed. Right, we've walked a bit of a walk over rocks to the main river and the rapids, and set back is our campsite, really well hidden in the trees over there. Not much more really to say.
We've just been approached by two of the guys that work here and sort out the camp and everything, and they've just charged us another $30, $15 each per person. And I really don't understand it. We were just charged, when we entered the camp, we were charged $63, and it's ridiculous because, I mean, last night we were surrounded by hippos, we heard them coming out the water, it was an amazing atmosphere, heard hyenas, and that wasn't technically in the park, and we were charged $20 for that, and you're paying a fortune now, and our guests are baboons, which, as many campers probably have experienced, are not the best guests compared to hyenas, hippos, and all that kind of thing. So I really don't understand why we're charged a fortune to come into the parks when you could go outside for less than half the price and have a better experience.